Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
There are dozens of stores that sell firearms in San Diego County, but there aren't any in Imperial Beach. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi, and there won't be any retail sale of guns until later this year at the earliest. KPBS reporter John Carroll says that's due to action by the Imperial Beach City Council.
Imperial Beach's commercial district has been on something of a roll the last several years. All sorts of businesses have come to this most southern of California beach towns, but there are no businesses that sell firearms in IB. A woman named Stephanie Gilraith wants to open a store focused on women's sporting goods near the intersection of Palm and Florida streets, and she wants to be able to sell guns. Her application for a license is what led to the City Council's action Wednesday evening.
What we were asking both the applicant, the community, and gun rights advocates is to bear with us, to have a pause.
The council voted to institute a 45-day pause, a moratorium, so that city staff can research and come up with a set of regulations. Right now, the city has no rules regarding the commercial sale of guns.
They wanted to have a little bit more time so that we can craft something that's unique to the city of Imperial Beach that is the best thing for Imperial Beach.
Mayor Aguirre says people spoke in support and against the moratorium at Wednesday's meeting. The San Diego County Gun Owners Group spoke in opposition. We reached out to them for comment, and President Michael Schwartz provided this statement. I look forward to seeing the council create a clear and obtainable pathway for federally licensed dealers to serve the Imperial Beach community.
We absolutely don't want to hinder in any way her ability to be successful, especially because she's catering to all customers, but especially women customers. So we ask that she bear with us.
Aguirre says normally the process of developing new ordinances takes anywhere between 7 months and 2 years. But she says this one is being fast-tracked. No second reading will be necessary. So it looks like it will come back before the council for a final vote in mid-August. John Carroll, KPBS News.
A proposal to allow San Diego police to start using surveillance cameras on city street lights again has been rejected. The Privacy Advisory Board voted unanimously against the plan at a public meeting yesterday. Dozens of community members testified. A majority opposed the use of cameras by police. Police say these cameras are a valuable crime-fighting asset. But board members say there isn't enough detail in the police plan to assure the public that video footage wouldn't be misused.
You have no ability to do that job because they have told you up front. They don't trust you to know what they're going to do with this technology. So I and my community, we don't trust them.
Very often when we prosecute crimes, we are looking for video evidence. There was a gentleman shot at the Central Library not too long ago, and there was a video of the perpetrator running away that was filmed by a coffee shop surveillance camera.
Many of those who testified also say they believe it is they, not criminals, who are being watched by the cameras. The Privacy Advisory Board does not have the power to stop legislation from passing. The decision ultimately lies with the City Council. More details about what caused a Titanic-bound submersible to implode, killing everyone on board. Right now, investigators are combing for clues through debris left behind 13,000 feet below the sea surface. Chris Wynn has the latest.
The site of the world's most famous shipwreck is now the site of a new tragedy. A Titanic-bound submersible has been found in pieces, and the U.S. Navy reports detecting an acoustic signature consistent with a catastrophic implosion on the day the sub descended to the site this past Sunday.
The location of the Titan submersible was in an area that was approximately 1,600 feet from the wreck of the Titanic.
The 5 people on board have been pronounced dead. Their loved ones and many people around the world are now in mourning.
I just feel terrible for the families that had to go through all these false hopes that kept getting dangled, you know, as it played out.
As to what caused the catastrophic implosion, that's under investigation.
If the Coast Guard is remaining there as part of the collection or recovery, that's somewhat unusual.
The CEO of the submaker, OceanGate, is among the dead. OceanGate's safety practices are now in question, but the company's co-founder is cautioning people not to rush to judgment.
There are teams on site that are still going to be collecting data for the next few days, weeks, maybe months, and it's going to be a long time before we know exactly what happened down there.
Chris Wynn, KPBS News.
Since the beginning of June, 2 hikers have died at Three Sisters Falls in the Cleveland National Forest. KPBS reporter Melissa May has some tips to stay safe while out on the trails.
Hiking guides rates Three Sisters Falls moderate to strenuous due to areas of rocky, unstable terrain, extreme heat risk, and no shade.
That one seems to be the most dangerous because, again, you do walk downhill to start. There's a lot of water there right now from all the rains we had. So people have slipped and fallen and injured themselves there.
Backup is very challenging, especially if it's warm.
Richard George is the search and rescue coordinator for the San Diego Sheriff's Department and recommends dressing appropriately, wearing sunscreen, and bringing at least a liter of water for every hour on the trail.
Don't go hiking by yourself. Hike with family and friends. If you do hike alone, be sure to let someone know where you're going and what time you're expected to be home. And also make sure your cell phone is charged in the event of an emergency.
CAL Fire Captain Brent Pasqua has this advice if you are hurt while out hiking.
If, like a lot of our hikes, you don't have cell service, send someone for help. Send someone up the trail or back down the trail to where there is service and they can call 911.
George says hiking rescues are challenging and expensive.
We're sending not only our trained personnel and volunteers and our full-time employees, but also the consumption of aircraft fuel or the logistics to support these type of events. It could be in the tens of thousands of dollars.
While emergency personnel put their lives on the line during hiking emergencies, taxpayers foot the bill for the rescues. Melissa May, KPBS News.
Well, summer is officially here, and with warmer temperatures on the way, so is the increased risk for wildfires. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman has more.
Peak fire season has arrived in San Diego. Brent Pasqua is a captain with CAL FIRE San Diego.
The other day just showed us that we're not going to just slowly transition into peak fire season. We had 5 fires that day that, and a few did threaten some homes.
On Tuesday, the Blackwood fire burned near Boulevard, scorching 37 acres and destroying 1 structure. The same day in Verona, the Wildcat fire forced evacuations before being stopped at 20 acres. Also in El Cajon, a fire off Interstate 8 burned 10 acres. Near the U.S.-Mexico border, a fire was just under 5 acres on the U.S. side and 20 acres in Mexico. And up north, the Rainbow Fire was 1 acre. Fire officials say there's a lot of dry brush.
Fire season is year-round, and peak fire season is here. So if you still have brush to clear around your house, now's a really good time to do it. Let's not wait.
Pasqua says weather plays a major role in the size of wildfires.
A lot of these fires you won't hear about when we don't have the winds and the hot, dry days, because it's easier to keep them small. But when we do have the winds and it's hot and dry, that's when we start getting these bigger fires that go more than 10 acres.
Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
I'm Amna Navaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, Americans on both sides of the abortion debate share their experiences 1 year after Roe v. Wade was overturned. It's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
A new mural in Chicano Park depicts the successful fight to ban the use of the short-handled hose on California's farms. KPBS reporter Katie Hyson looked into the story behind the mural.
Cars whiz by on the freeway above. Mario Chacon, the lead artist of the El Cortito mural, gives a sneak peek to a curious family.
And so you have the past, the consequence, the struggle, and then at the bottom, the victory.
Dividing the mural in two is an arched spinal column that mirrors the backs of the farm workers toiling in the fields above.
The guy on the far right is Mo when he was young.
As a lawyer with the California Rural Legal Assistance, Maurice Mo Jourdain led the fight against El Cortito, the short-handled hoe used by farm workers in California. The workers called it El Brazo del Diablo, the devil's arm. Its 8-inch handle forced them to stoop over all day. Jourdain says Cesar Chavez told him he should fight against El Cortito. But it was a chance meeting in a Salinas Valley pool hall in 1970 that convinced him.
One of the farm workers had a bad back, and I asked him what happened, and he told me that it's just from using the Cortito.
The farm worker went to his truck and brought back the Cortito. Jourdain agreed it seemed bad, but the worker challenged him.
You have to learn to know how bad it is, you have to go use it. And so, after some encouragement, pressure, I went to the field to use the Cortito. And I remember driving down the Salinas Valley at dawn and spending the day bent over, hoeing, and I realized that day it was a torture, and we had to do something to get rid of it.
Jourdain went to the law library and found no laws around the Cortito.
I learned that from doctors, that it was worse than just the pain. The farm workers' backs were being destroyed.
Together with co-counsel Marty Glick, he filed a lawsuit. Doctors testified that farm workers were retiring young with destroyed backs, often permanently disabled and in wheelchairs. Stooping over degenerated the discs in their spine until they ruptured.
And to the growers, I learned in all of it, is the farm workers were just a tool. They were just like the hoe. You know, if the farm worker became disabled because of back injury, they just went to Mexico and got another one to take their place.
Jourdain says growers claimed the short handle was needed for efficiency. But when Jourdain and Glick surveyed growers across the country, they found the same work was being done with a long-handled hoe everywhere but Arizona and California. Jourdain has another theory. El Cortito was about control.
I can remember one worker telling me, well, you know, the slave owners had whips or guns they used to keep workers working, and here they have the Cortito.
The Cortito kept workers bent low at a time when Cesar Chavez and others were trying to unionize them to stand up, and it made them easier to supervise.
You could have one supervisor, one foreman supervising 50 or 60 workers when you knew who was resting were those who were standing up.
Farm workers organized across the state, including at Chicano Park. They risked their livelihoods to testify during the years-long legal battle. The Supreme Court of California banned the short-handled hoe in 1975.
It was more likely the lawyer than...
Remembering the win moves Jourdain, but he puts it in perspective.
We got rid of the Cortito, but that's just one little part of a farm worker's life.
Now retired, he still speaks of all the work left to do. Farm workers in California are still dying in the field of heat exhaustion, a preventable illness.
What we have to do is get beyond the belief that farm workers are just tools and it doesn't matter that something is harmful.
At the mural, Jourdain poses with the family. Instead of saying cheese, the children say, "Si se puede." Yes, it can be done.
My hero.
No.
Jourdain and Glick will speak at a public unveiling of the mural on Sunday, June 25th. Katie Hyson, KPBS News.
The parents of a man killed in a California mass shooting last year are turning their grief into service. Greg Grimes was killed in Sacramento in the early hours of July 4th. Grimes' parents are holding an event aimed at gun violence prevention this weekend. Marley Ginter reports.
I break down a lot, and my husband, he's a rock, but he breaks down too.
Through heartache and pain, Deborah and Gregory Grimes lean on each other for strength.
It is life-changing. Absolutely. So we have really gone through the various stages of grief.
Nearly a year ago, on the 4th of July, their 31-year-old son, Greg Najee Grimes, was shot and killed as he and 4 others were leaving a nightclub in downtown Sacramento. As of today, no arrests have been made. The 6'1", 280-pound former Boise State defensive lineman coached football and worked with special needs kids at Intercom High School, his alma mater. But more importantly, he was a beloved son and doting father to 5-year-old Ace. Since his death, his parents have been pressing the city to adopt safety measures through the Najee's Law initiative named after their son. If adopted, it would require downtown establishments to have exterior cameras and lighting, make mandatory metal detectors at bars and nightclubs, and hold establishments accountable when violent incidents break out. Meantime, they're now focused on their upcoming event called the Greg Najee Grimes Lifesavers Party. They've been advertising the event through social media and even on billboards. The Lifesavers Party aims to elevate the conversation around gun violence prevention and learning skills like CPR and how to treat blood loss. A special team will be on hand teaching this important course.
Taught by the nurses at UC Davis Trauma Center, and that's the same trauma unit that worked on our son.
The Greg Grimes Lifesavers Party is being held tomorrow. A concerning decline in blood donations since last month could put stress on U.S. blood supplies through the American Red Cross, and the organization worries that the number of blood donations will only continue to go down. Mandy Gaither has more on the impact of low blood donations and how you can help.
As summer heats up, blood donations are going down.
Last month, we collected over 26,000 fewer blood donations than needed to meet the needs of patients.
Tiffany Taylor with the American Red Cross says it's common to see blood donation declines this time of year as more people are traveling and fewer blood drives in places like schools. But she says the need for blood doesn't take a summer break.
When blood donations are low, this can lead to blood shortages, which affect our ability to support cancer patients in their treatment. It affects our ability to respond to medical emergencies and chronic blood conditions.
If blood isn't readily available, it can also lead to postponement of elective surgeries. Taylor says low donations are especially concerning for the approximately 100,000 Americans who suffer from sickle cell disease.
There is no widely available cure, and they often rely on regular blood transfusions to manage their pain and prevent life-threatening complications.
While donors of all blood types are needed, the Red Cross is especially in need of type O, which is always in high demand. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
And anyone interested in giving blood can schedule an appointment at redcrossblood.org.
Well, let's start you off with your weather headlines. Really same old as we're heading into the weekend, but a slightly warmer air temperature is going to take hold of the region, but still pretty breezy in the mountains and deserts. But we are expecting significant warming into the later half of next week. So that is some good news. I know it's been kind of dreary over these last few weeks. And tonight around San Diego, we're dropping down to a low of 59. We'll have those thickening clouds. We still have that deep marine layer, so still going to be cloudy, a little foggy late at night and early in the morning. And as we head into tonight around the rest of the area, well, Ramona dropping down to the upper 40s, low 50s, Oceanside 55. And as we head towards the deserts, Borrego Springs 63 and Mount Laguna dropping down to a low of 53. But as we soar into tomorrow, well, we'll see some sunshine. San Diego hitting a high of 70. And then as we head a little bit further inland, Ramona in the upper 70s and 100, triple digits on tap for the deserts, Mount Laguna in the 60s. So overall, not doing too shabby. And along the coast over these next 5 days, well, again, staying relatively steady as typical. We'll see some sunshine with partly sunny skies. It's going to be the trend. And then as we head a little bit more inland, well, temperatures are going to rise Monday, even into Wednesday as well. We're going to be in the 80s, or at least flirting with the 80s. And then throughout the weekend, well, we're in the mid 70s and the upper 70s by Sunday. Now, across the mountains, well, overall staying relatively the same, but 60s, mid-60s on tap with mostly sunny skies as we head even further inland. It is going to be a little breezy, especially this weekend, but we'll have lots of sun by Wednesday. And as we head towards the deserts, well, that's where we're going to be seeing temperatures in the triple digits, still pretty steady. Again, that significant warm-up not happening until later on in the week, but we'll have plenty of sunshine and again, a little breezy. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Bree Guy.
Major studios are scaling back their ComicCon plans, including Marvel. SDSU's Miro Kopik tells us why labor uncertainty in Hollywood is largely to blame.
That's the big anticipated set of panels for visitors of Comic-Con. Hall H has about 4,000 seats. Big stars, the big directors, the big studios come in and talk about their movies. Interestingly about Marvel, why they aren't doing it is really this year their slate of movies is a lot less than last year. The reason for this is because of the writer's strike and the potential actors' strike. So the writer's strike, which has been ongoing since May 1st, has had a significant impact. In fact, it's basically ground all scripted shows to a halt. The next big shoe to drop is the actors' strike. On June 30th, the contract for the Screen Actors Guild is done. If they go on strike, that means that actors can't do promotional activity, so they can't go to Comic-Con even if they wanted to. And the fact of the matter is that the studios are already pulling out. That means that they believe there's a higher likelihood than not that the Screen Actors Guild may actually call a strike.
Wes Anderson's Asteroid City just opened in theaters, and it serves up a TV program about a play within a play set in the 1950s small desert town during a stargazing event. KPBS cinema junkie Beth Accomando says Anderson creates a unique cinematic universe, and she spoke with some of his cast about what defines him as a director.
Welcome to Asteroid City.
Action.
An artifice created entirely out of Wes Anderson's imagination and slyly inspired by Roadrunner cartoons.
The car exploded.
Where are you?
Asteroid City, Farm Route 6, mile 75.
He loves to tell these amazing stories. I mean, you know, his imagination is boundless.
In the film, Steve Park plays a parent and a scientist.
So I've raised my son to be one as well. But then he's also a journalist, and he's also quite fearless in his wanting to get out the truth.
I don't know what to say, General Gibson. Don't apologize, Dad.
I admire his ingenuity, and I admire his persistence, and I'm a little scared of it, too, because I don't have any control of it.
Control, or the lack of it, is a theme in the film. Anderson displays a very precise style that tries to put mathematical order on the chaos of life.
Head count. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think any sense of order is done with the knowledge that life is chaotic and that it's going to be controllable at times and uncontrollable at times. I think of it as like a choreographer, people flipping and catching. If you know, you want the person who's in charge of that to be like, you make sure you're on this piece of tape when that person comes flipping down, because they need you to catch them. That's to me the most beautiful thing. It's like putting order on something to make it more chaotic.
Actor Jason Schwartzman plays a grief-stricken father.
You're saying her mother died 3 weeks ago? Let's say she's in heaven, which doesn't exist for me, of course, but you're Episcopalian.
The film revels in Anderson's unique and quirky style. Actor Jeffrey Wright has worked with the director before and loves how Anderson does things his own way.
Sometimes we make choices based on precedent, on what's come before. That must be the right way to do it. He's like, no.
Yeah, good. One more like that.
So I have a great deal of respect for him in that regard, that he's nonconformist. He's his own artist, his own self. I think it's so valuable, particularly now.
Junior stargazers and space cadets. Each year we celebrate Asteroid Day.
He's very specific, and he has this vision in his head that is so detailed and so comprehensive, and you've been asked there to help him realize it. He has this wonderful way of getting out of you more than you expected.
He's such a wonderful actor director. He gives
great notes. He notices everything. He's so totally present, so energetic.
And also, he never tires. So he himself might be an alien.
That's an alien doing jumping jacks. That's an alien in a top hat.
I don't have any evidence that he's not, really.
And somehow gets more energy as the day goes on, which is like physically impossible. I don't know how it happens, but he's just so energized by the production.
Okay, good, very good, very good. We'll do one last one. Very good, very good.
He's demanding, but at the same time, incredibly gentle, incredibly supportive. And at the end of the day, I find him intensely likable.
I agree, he's very likable. He's a real lover of film and art, and I love the people he surrounds himself with, how he creates this sense of community on his film sets.
To me, he has a tender love for humanity, and that's expressed in all of his characters. To me, it's really the tenderness with which he views humanity.
Asteroid City serves up a very Wes Anderson film. So if you have an acquired taste for his meticulously crafted confections, then you'll be delighted by this film. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.